What's up, guys? Zerda here. Today we're going to be taking a look at 5 UFC fighters who have gained significant amount of aura over the past year or so, right? And then we're going to be looking at 5 guys who have lost a shit ton of aura over the past year, okay? So this is in honor of the recent fight night, recent fight night Paris, Renato Moicano versus Benoit Saint-Denis, where I actually did pick Moicano 100%. My thumbnail, it's misleading. I 100% picked Moicano. Obviously, I knew he was going to TKO Benoit Saint-Denis and make him look like a total fraud. Obviously, I saw that coming 100%. Do not check me on that. Don't even bother watching that video, but I did pick him 100%. I am not lying. But yeah, our first guy who has gained a shit ton of aura, and the reason I'm making this video is Moicano, okay? Because Moicano, this year has been his year. He has made himself a fucking superstar, basically, and has also proven that he can back it up in the cage, okay? This guy, he goes out there, he gets a crafty performance against Drew Dober, where he's kind of, he's kind of boring almost, just laying on top of Drew Dober, and he ends up pulling off the win, but he really makes his case on the mic, right? Because he calls out MMA Guru, and he gets kind of all the whole Guru army. Just, they gravitated towards this guy, and we ended up, supporting him. If you're a Guru fan, if you're watching Guru a bit, you ended up supporting him in his next fight, which I did. I was like, fuck it, Moicano, I like this guy, he's funny as fuck. I'm going to support him against Jalen Turner, and he ends up beating Jalen Turner with a crafty-ass performance on UFC 300, and I like to really refer to this guy as crafty because that's what he is at the end of the day, where he's able to, he's able to go out there against a guy like Jalen Turner, who people like to glaze and, say that he's so good, bro, he's gonna fucking knockout artist and all this shit. And he goes out there against Jalen Turner. He really dominated the whole fight, right? People love to point to the little fucking miniature knockdown that Jalen Turner had, but at the end of the day, that was Moicano trolling, okay? Moicano was trolling the audience because he was like, fuck it, what can I do to, increase my chances of getting the knockout bonus? What if I pretend to get knocked out, get up, and then TKO Jalen Turner? And that's what he did. He faked being knocked out for a bit, right? That's what he was going to do against Fiziev as well. The Fiziev early stoppage, he was just trying to do the same thing. So he finally was able to do it, where he pretended that he was, out for a bit. Jalen Turner, like a moron, walks away. And then he gets back up and TKOs this motherfucker, okay? That was pretty cool to see, especially on UFC 300. He gained a shit ton of aura from that, and then he goes out there and destroys Benoit Saint-Denis. I did not expect this. I mean, actually, no, I did. I did expect this, of course. I saw this coming. I definitely thought that, Moicano, who his ground and pound against Drew Dober wasn't too great. I thought that he was gonna fucking put on a ground and pound mega fucking performance against a guy like Benoit and just make his face look like he had been through a fucking blender after a single round. Okay, after a single round, this guy looked like he had gone through a 5-round war. So I don't know how Moicano didn't gain aura from that. He 100% has gained aura, and now you got people saying this guy could go out there and, Islam's a possibility. I actually think Islam, he could look good against Islam, and fuck it, bro. Moicano is the Glover Teixeira of lightweight. He's gonna pull back, he's gonna fucking come back and fucking win all these fights, and just, he'll get the belt, bro. He's gonna break the 35 curse, he's gonna get the fucking belt. Don't bet against Moicano, okay? And, obviously I didn't do that, guys. I did not bet against Moicano. I knew he was going to come through. But listen, we got him. Speaking of comeback, we got Dan Hooker. We're putting him on the list. Because, listen, Dan Hooker, he decided to reincarnate, revive himself, whatever you want to say. Because this guy, back in the day, back at the featherweight days is really what we're talking about here. When this motherfucker decided, I'm going to take a fight against Arnold Allen and get fucking TKO'd against Arnold Allen, which isn't the best look, because Arnold Allen, at a first glance, you might think, this guy, well, he has big arms, and he looks like a cool little boxer guy, so obviously he has power, but at the end of the day, Arnold Allen is not Mr. Power, so, if you're getting TKO'd by him, it's not the best look, but what does Dan Hooker do? He comes back, and Jalen Turner, first of all, Jalen Turner, motherfucker, this is why he's overhyped, because you had people picking Dan Hooker to lose against Jalen Turner, myself included. I have to admit, I did pick him to lose against Jalen Turner, but after Jalen Turner lost to Dan Hooker, I don't know why people continued to pick him. But listen, Jalen Turner's, he's kind of the guy, I guess he gets your comeback started, now that I'm thinking about it. But he got Dan Hooker's comeback started because this motherfucker was eating flush head kicks against him, laughing. He had the bloody hair after the fight. And he ended up winning the fight, and he's like, just a scratch after he fucking broke his arm. And, you know, we're like, holy shit, is Dan Hooker back? You know, we don't know. We don't know what the fuck Dan Hooker's doing. He might be back. And then he ends up proving that he is fucking back, because he goes out there against Gamrot, and he puts on, you know, close fight. I'll say close fight, but in my eyes, he did win the fight. And he ends up winning against Gamrot, puts himself back in the top 5, because, you know, Gamrot somehow is in the top 5. But listen, he puts himself back in the top 5, and he's laughing in the middle of rounds, in the corner. He's fucking saying, I love this shit. So he looks like he's, you know, just changed completely, especially with the tattoos and everything. This motherfucker's back, and he's gained a shit ton of aura, and now you got guys picking him against Gaethje, myself included. I'd pick this guy against Gaethje if he fought Gaethje, because listen, Gaethje, if he were on this list of like aura losses, which we're gonna get to in a couple minutes here, but listen, Gaethje should low-key be on the aura loss list, because Gaethje has lost so much aura. And I, for one, I never thought Gaethje was like, I don't know what I'm saying, right? I just never thought Gaethje was that good, in all honesty. But listen, you got guys picking him against Gaethje, myself included. You got Paddy Pimblett. You could pick Paddy Pimblett against Gaethje. You got fucking Moicano against Gaethje. So Gaethje's not necessarily the best example to use here, but listen, I think Dan Hooker, Dustin Poirier, for example, that would be a good-ass fight, but I don't want to see it because that's a rematch. So I don't know what the fuck I'm saying at the end of the day, but listen, Dan Hooker, he's going on a tear. We gotta put him in a list like this. And also, why the fuck are there so many rematches at lightweight? That's another thing. Like, now they're thinking about making Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier. I'm just going on a fucking rant now, but listen, lightweight, chill with these fucking rematches. There's so many new matches you can make, bro. Just make them. Wait, literally, Michael Chandler versus Oliveira just got booked as well. What the fuck are they doing at lightweight, bro? It's actually pissing me off. But listen, we got Gene Silva. What the fuck is this guy doing here, right? What the fuck is he doing here? Well, I'll fucking tell you what he's doing here, because this motherfucker has gained a shit ton of aura in just the past year, right? Because he came out in the octagon, he made his debut, he started barking, that already gained him a shit ton of aura, but the real aura gain came from the Charles Jourdain fight, where, you know, he just knocks out Charles Jourdain, which, I mean, to be fair, you could kind of see coming, because Charles Jourdain, he's a Canadian, bro, and you don't want to pick Canadians to win fights usually. So he knocks out Charles Jourdain, but then what does he go do? What does he go do? Well, 2 weeks notice, this motherfucker says, I'm going to fight Drew Dober up a weight class, and he puts on an insane performance where he's just fucking elbowing Drew Dober, breaks his hands in the fight, continues to fucking elbow him, spinning elbows, cuts him open, slices him open, and now you got this motherfucker, you know, out here calling out Movsar, and people genuinely think he could beat Movsar. I don't know about it. I think, listen, this is what I'll say. I don't think we should fast track Gene Silva, because I love Gene Silva, bro. This guy's so fucking fun to watch. I think we need to, you know, maybe give him a ranked opponent now. Just go slowly. Please don't fast track this motherfucker. I don't want to see a Benoit Saint-Denis situation where he gets put up against Movsar, loses the fight, and then maybe loses some confidence. Let's just build up this guy, okay? Let's take our time, build him up a bit, please. But other than that, this guy has a lot of fucking aura, okay? He has a lot of aura. He's got the fighting nerds, which, if you're a fighting nerd, you already got aura for sure. But, I mean, at the end of the day, this guy, he has to be on a list like this. Mainly also because of the Drew Dober performance, which Drew Dober is a guy that does get you some aura, now that I think about it, because Moicano got some aura from Drew Dober. You know, Drew Dober, he's kind of the guy where if you beat him, you're slowly starting to gain aura, because, you know, Drew Dober, he's not an easy out. He is not an easy out by any means, especially if you're not, you know, a little darker shade, right? If you're a darker shade, Drew Dober might be a guy to beat you, but listen, if you're looking like Gene Silva here, chances are you're probably going to beat Drew Dober, and you know, you might pull out a good win. But listen, we're going to move on to Max Holloway. Max Holloway, he really gained a shit ton of aura when it came to his UFC 300 appearance. Okay, his UFC 300 appearance is what, you know, all of a sudden, out of fucking nowhere, you got everyone saying, you know, they picked Max. Of course I picked Max Holloway to win that fight. I saw that shit coming. I'm the biggest Max Holloway fan out of nowhere. But, you know, the reason why I have him on a list like this is because just a couple years, you know, 2 years ago, this guy lost all of his aura. Nobody fucking, you know, a lot of people hopped off the Max Holloway train. They hopped off the Blessed Express, and, you know, it was a shame. You would get shamed if you were a Max Holloway fan, right? Because he just got, you know, beat up pretty bad by Volk. And, people weren't backing him. People weren't there. And then, he gets the Arnold Allen win, which, he gets a good comeback win. He starts up he starts up the engine again of the Bust Express. But he didn't have too many people on it, right? You had some people who were like, okay, well, he got a good win. But then he gets the KO. He gets the KO over TKZ. And then you got a lot more people. A lot more people are like, holy shit, is Max back? And then you got this motherfucker flatline KOing after putting on a great performance against Justin Gaethje. He literally flatlined last second flatline KO Justin Gaethje. How does that not gain you aura? And this motherfucker gained so much aura that now you got people picking him to beat Ilya just because of the aura, right? It's an aura-based pick. It's a feelings-based pick at the end of the day, because I'm going to be honest, there are not many reasons, and to forget, tell me if there is a reason to be picking Max against Ilya, other than you forgot who Max is, bro. You forgot who he is. This guy has so much aura. That's why you're picking him. It's an aura-based pick. I'll let you have it, but listen, it is an aura-based pick, because he does have a shit ton of aura, and when you think of, like, a moment like UFC 300, what really stole the show, it wasn't Alex Pereira's KO, even if you want to think it wasn't his KO, because that's not even Alex's best KO. It was just it was a simple KO, right, against Jamal Hill. When you think about this, 30 years from now, what are they going to see when they think about UFC 300? They're going to think about the last second KO that Max Holloway had after putting on a beautiful performance. That's what they're going to be thinking about. So this motherfucker has gained a shit ton of aura, and he does belong on a list like this, okay? Let's move on to Diego Lopes, who also has gained a lot of aura, because this guy took the Movsar fight short notice, like a couple days notice, and he puts on a good performance against Movsar. He had like multiple submission attempts. In many people's eyes, he was like very competitive with that. Myself included, I thought he was pretty competitive with Movsar. And then, Movsar, who has only fought once since then, this guy decides, I'm going to fight fucking 5 or 4 times after fighting Movsar, right? He just goes on a tear. He's already fought like 4 times this year or some shit, KOing everybody. And the moment that really gained him aura, like a lot of aura in my eyes, is the Ortega performance. Because up until that, I was picking Diego Lopes to win his fights, right? I was like, okay, well, fucking, what's his name? Sadiq Youssef, you could beat him because, Sadiq's a little bit shinny, right? So I picked him to beat Sadiq on UFC 300. That also gained him a lot of aura, though, because it was such a cool KO. It was like a TKO, but it was on UFC 300, so it gained him some aura. But what ultimately gained him aura was the Ortega performance, because Ortega, he's one of those guys who, he can beat everybody besides the champ, right? And when it comes to the champs, he's obviously going to get 50-45 by the champs, but he's not going to lose to you if you're just one of these regular contenders. So Diego Lopes being able to put on a masterclass performance against fucking Brian Ortega shows that he is championship level. He's not just one of these contenders who's being hyped up a little too much. He is the real fucking deal. He shut down Brian Ortega completely. Ortega had no moments of success in that fight, really. It was just a complete outclassing. And so a guy like Diego Lopes, now you got people saying he beats Ilya. He beats Ilya. He's Ilya's biggest threat. He can fucking knock out Ilya. And so he has gained a shit ton of aura. And he belongs on a list like this for sure. I've said that about every fucking guy. Obviously, they belong on the fucking aura list. But now we're going to move on to the guys who lost some aura. These guys just, they haven't had it so good in this year. They've just been losing aura. Maybe, the fans just don't. They look at them and they just look at them like, what the fuck are you even doing here anymore, right? So, for starters, we got Robelis Despaigne. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you guys forgot about Robelis Despaigne by now, because a couple months ago, this guy was being hyped up like, holy shit, we got the new Ngannou. He's like Yoel Romero Ngannou because he's Cuban, right? So everybody was hyping this motherfucker up, myself included. I genuinely thought this guy was going to be the next big thing, because before he got to the UFC, his average fight time was like 10 seconds, 13 seconds, something like that, like something insane. Just seconds. He was knocking out his opponents in fucking seconds. And he got to the UFC, and it was kind of like his make or break. Like, we were going to see, like, is this guy the real deal? And they put him up against, Josh Parisian, who, obviously, Josh Parisian is on, championship level. If you beat Josh, you're right there at the championship level. You're probably going to be up next for a title shot. And what does he do? He knocks the motherfucker out in, 12 seconds or some bullshit like that. And just, everybody was like, holy shit, this guy's up next. This guy, future top 5 for sure. probably, Tom Aspinall's biggest threat. Something like that. We were all just hyping him up so much. And then, when he got matched up against Waldo Cortez Acosta, who, he's like the pipsqueak of the division, right? This guy's like 5'7" or some bullshit. And he's, a baseball player at fucking heavyweight. Like, what the fuck is he gonna do? And everybody thought, well, obviously, Despaigne the lock at UFC, whatever the fuck he fought on. He's the lock. He was the lock against Waldo Cortez Acosta. And then he gets fucking bitched around by Waldo Cortez Acosta, exposed completely in the ground game. And not only that, just exposed in the stand-up even a bit too. Because, listen, Waldo Cortez Acosta was dancing around him, doing the salsa dance and fucking taunting in the middle of the fight. And every time he got hit, he was just fucking dancing around. He literally said to Waldo Cortez Acosta, you got pipsqueak power, okay? He was eating fucking flush shots from Despaigne, right? So it just completely fraud checked, exposed, and now who the fuck cares about Despaigne, right? You haven't heard this guy's name uttered in fucking years, right? Even though it's been a couple of months, but listen, nobody talks about this motherfucker. Nobody cares about him anymore. He probably isn't even in the UFC anymore, but listen, who the fuck cares about Despaigne? Obviously lost a shit ton of aura. Let's move on to our next guy who, people still talk about this next guy, but he has lost a lot of aura, and that is Jon Jones, because Jon Jones, 90% of the community, maybe even more, but listen, 90% of the community sees this guy as a clown who's ducking, who is a steroid cheat, who, does all this weird shit outside the octagon, terrible shit outside the octagon also, beats his fucking wife, just is a scumbag in general. But that's not even it. That's not the only reason why. He's always complaining on Twitter, always making excuses as to why he shouldn't be fighting Tom Aspinall, despite the fact that Tom has literally defended his interim championship, and you don't want to fight him because the Stipe fight's a legacy fight, so fucking important. Who the fuck cares, Jones? Nobody cares about you anymore. Nobody gives a shit. And you got an insane amount of Jones haters popping up now. So this guy, all of his aura is just completely lost. And I think most people by now just have realized that, Tom is the real fucking badass. The real badass at fucking heavyweight, the real champ. And nobody cares about Jones now. They've realized he's a bit of a duck, right? So I don't know how you couldn't have him on a list like this. He definitely has lost a shit ton of aura from being, he's a goat, everybody, obviously. You put Jon Jones in a room with anybody, he's the one walking out. But now you got Tom Aspinall, and this guy doesn't even want to be in a room with him. He'll fucking shit his pants if he's in a room with Tom Aspinall. So, listen, he has to be on a list like this. And speaking of a guy who has to be on a list like this, we got Benoit Saint-Denis, okay? Benoit Saint-Denis. Obviously, guys, I did not pick Benoit Saint-Denis to beat Moicano. I definitely did not pick him to beat Moicano because he did get bitched around. And, people would have said that the Dustin Poirier fight lost some aura for him, but honestly, I didn't pick him against Dustin, so I don't know how it was for those who did pick him against Dustin, but when I watched him fight Dustin, I was like, all right, well, I think he can still come back. I think they just fast-tracked him. And so when they booked Moicano, I was like, okay, Moicano is he can get this win. He can get this win for sure. And obviously, because, he's a fucking marauder. He's a fucking badass war vet. So obviously, he's probably going to be fucking gritty, pull through. What does this guy do? He gets taken down in the first fucking 12 seconds of the fight and gets bitched completely. I already said this, but he looked like he went through a fucking blender. It was like, he literally looked like he fought like a 20-round war in the course of 4 minutes, just by some ground and pound by Moicano, who, Moicano, sure, he loves to throw some ground and pound, but the Drew Dober fight kind of made it where, like, maybe when he's on top, he likes to be a little more comfortable and not throw some ground and pound, but he completely slaughtered Benoit Saint-Denis on the fucking ground, butchered him, and then, it was just over. It was over before it even began. Like, it was just fucking over. It was bad. And now I don't even know who the fuck I would pick this guy against. Like, Bobby Green might fucking beat his ass, which is... It's honestly... I don't know. I genuinely don't know who the fuck Benoit Saint-Denis is going to fight next. Or who he would beat, but... He's cooked. He's lost all his aura. And, he's just exposed himself as a regular French guy. But, listen, that's it. That's it for Benoit. Let's move on to... Alexander Volkanovski. Listen, Volk, motherfucker, he has lost so much aura, bro. I can't even look at this picture of him, bro. This picture doesn't even look like a guy who fights. This is the featherweight goat right here. Like, you're looking at the featherweight goat, he looks like a blob. He has the Shamil Gaziev physique, bro, and he just doesn't look scary at all. So I don't know, like, and it's also just embarrassing because, you know, you got guys who have completely forgot about Volk. They've just shoved him to the side, and, you know, it's laughable when you see, like, you know, you'll see a guy in a TikTok comment section saying, who, if you bring up Diego Lopes, you'll say maybe Diego Lopes is up next for the title shot. I've seen this shit happen before, right? And then you'll get the reply from the Volk fan, you know, he'll say, well, what about Volk, bro? Don't forget about Volk. We don't care about Volk, honestly. Like, it's sad. It's sad to say because, you know, Volk's a cool guy and all, and he's obviously the featherweight GOAT, but we don't care about Volk anymore. It's just, like, these people think that Volk's going to be able to win a fight against Ilia Topuria. Like, he's just going to come back. Like, Ilia caught him with a lucky shot, or he's going to be able to, you know, he's going to come back for sure. He's coming back, and you got this guy on his YouTube channel, you know, he's begging Ilia. He literally, it just, oh my God, it's such an aura loss to think about, but he had a video begging Ilia not to fight Max, and, you know, he's like, just make sure I'm up next for the rematch. Please, Ilia, I'm begging you. Don't fight Max. Don't fight Max. That is just cringe in my eyes because he's obviously, you know, he's making it out like, don't fight Max. Max is going to butcher you. But in reality, it's just like, he's literally begging Ilia to get the title shot to him, bro. It's just sad to see. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to probably do fucking Diego Lopes versus Volkanovski, and he's probably going to get knocked out by Diego Lopes, which is sad to see, and sad to say as well. But listen, it's over for Volk. It is over for Volk. His aura is just, it's fucking plummeted, bro. This guy has no aura anymore, and even the fans realize it. Like, nobody, when you see Volk, nobody thinks he has aura anymore, okay? It's just, it's a bad look, and it's self-inflicted. It is self-inflicted wounds caused by himself because, you know, he's too fucking stubborn for his own good. It's just, it's sad to see, man. And in my eyes, listen, in my eyes, this guy died during the Islam head kick. That moment, you know, it sank my heart seeing him get head kicked by Islam. But after that, he was dead in my eyes. So when people said, you know, the Ilia moment was CGI, bro, don't show me this. Don't show me the Ilia knockout. Now when I see the Ilia knockout and when I watched it live, I was fucking grinning. And not only because I'm an Ilia fan, but because, listen, because, dude, he was already dead in my eyes. He was already dead in my eyes. He has not been a real fighter. He's like a robot. Just look at him, bro. It's sad to see, but he literally looks like a fucking, he looks like a lost puppy, bro. It's sad to see, bro. And let's move on to our last guy, Steve Erceg. Okay, I know Steve Erceg, you're probably thinking, you know, I'm playing around a little, but I'm not, because, listen, flyweight is a very, very, very difficult division to have any aura in. Maybe like a guy like Figgy had aura, but, you know, Figgy's not there anymore. So when I thought about, you know, who actually lost a shit ton of aura this year, I was like, well, Steve Erceg, I was kind of high on him, right? I thought this guy was going to be the flyweight champ, and he had such a great fight against Pantoja that, you know, I was like, well, he's, you know, he's just fucking, obviously he's going to beat Kai Kara-France. There's no chance Kai Kara-France beats him, and he's going to get right back to the belt, and he's going to beat, you know, Pantoja, and he's Pantoja's biggest threat, and he's up next. And then he gets put out cold. Well, I don't know if it was really cold. It was just, you know, it was a pretty bad knockout, though, especially at flyweight by Kai Kara-France, and that kind of lost him all of the aura he had, you know, because for a while, people were hyping him up, myself included. We were like, you know, he's the champ without the belt. He's the people's champ up there at flyweight, or down there at flyweight, I guess, but now he's just, you know, who the fuck cares? That's what it's kind of like. And flyweight's dead because of him, in my opinion. Like, there's nobody there. Like, for a while, it was kind of like, well, flyweight's dead, but at least you got Steve Erceg, because, you know, he's a bit funny, and he's, you know, he's kind of cool to watch, right? But now I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a single fuck about flyweight, okay? I don't care. They genuinely should just close the division, because, you know, Steve Erceg, he lost his aura, and flyweight has also just, you know, they've lost their best soldier. They've lost their strongest soldier, their biggest aura guy at flyweight, who was Steve Erceg. He's just gone now, and now it's sad to say, but flyweight's cooked. Steve Erceg, he's, you know, I don't want to say he's cooked because he's still young, but he for sure lost the aura that he had after the Pantoja fight, right? So, listen, that's it for the video, guys. This went on longer than I expected, okay? I don't know how I fucking yapped for so long, but listen, I did want to make this video because after that fight night, it kind of got me thinking, you know, who else has kind of lost aura? And it also got me thinking, you know, Moicano is on a fucking streak and a half, and he does have a shit ton of aura right now, so I had to make a video like this. But listen, that's it for the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Like, subscribe, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.